Well, it's that time of year again. No, not her, she's still defrosting. I'm talking about back to school. Now, for some of you, that means starting a new year in university. And for those of you, first of all, congratulations on getting into university. You're gonna have a blast in first year, whether you're living on a dorm, off campus in student housing, or commuting from home. You're gonna have fun. Second, you might be wondering what sort of tech stuff you need to prepare yourself for this transition into university. Well, I got you covered on that second part. I'm going into second year and I lived on campus on residence for my first year, so these are what I think are the tech essentials that you should be bringing to your university experience. And at the end, I'll also throw in some extra tech tips and how you can save on technology and some other stuff like software, so be sure to stick around to the end. One more thing before we begin, I will link a bunch of the products that I'm talking about in the comment section below and in the description below as affiliate links. So if you want to pick some of these items up for yourself, you can using the Amazon links below. Let's get started first off with a good laptop, right? I think this is the single most important device you can bring to university. Obviously, like no matter what program you're in, you're gonna need a laptop. You're gonna need it to like look at your grades and stuff, type essays and lab reports. No matter what you're doing, you're gonna need a good laptop. Ideally something thin and light with a good battery and a nice comfortable keyboard and trackpad. And of course, the type of computer you're gonna need is gonna depend on what you're studying. So if you do need help with that decision, I made a video about whether you should pick a Mac or a PC for your university experience. And I also just talk about like computers in general for university. So if you want something more in-depth, check that video out. But generally, ask upper years and check your course outline to see what kind of software you'll be using, what kind of minimum specs your professor recommends, and yeah, pick a computer based off of that. My recommendation in general for laptops is the MacBook Air, right? Unless you're in like some CS or Eng program that requires a Windows-only software. The MacBook Air, it's thin, it's light, it's really durable, it's got great battery life, a great screen, and you can get them actually on sale right now, straight from Apple. And I'll go more in depth about that at the end of the video when I'm talking about how to get some savings as a student. And when you're buying a laptop, you often have the option to upgrade the storage, right? And that can cost you hundreds of dollars. And I don't recommend doing that if you're a university student, especially because, you know, we're broke. So you can use the next item on this list to expand your storage, and that is an external storage device. So something like either an SSD or an HDD. And let me explain the differences. An SSD is a solid state drive, which means there's no moving parts and it's a lot faster at transferring and just moving data. So if you want to edit videos off of the external device, then an SSD would be better because you're going to be taking advantage of that faster speed, right? An HDD is a mechanical hard drive. It's an actual spinning disk that reads and writes data magnetically. So it can be a lot slower than a solid state drive. So you might be asking, well, why would anyone pick a HDD, a hard disk drive? It's much slower, right? Well, HDDs are a lot cheaper. You can get a 1 terabyte HDD for a lot cheaper than a 1 terabyte SSD, for example. And also, let's say your HDD fails, it's easier to recover data from an HDD than data from an SSD. Me personally, I use a combination of both to use as data storage, right? I have my most important data that I need to be readily available on my MacBook. Then I have some other files on my SSD. It's a 2 terabyte Samsung T7 Shield, and I back all of that up using a mechanical 5 terabyte HDD. And I picked an HDD because one, it's a lot cheaper to get a 5 terabyte HDD, and two, I don't really care about speed. It's just doing backups in the background, so I don't need it to be super fast. I don't need it to be writing data super fast. So an HDD is perfect for backups. Speaking of which, always back up your data. I've heard so many horror stories about PhD students, for example, losing their research because they lost their USB thumb drive that they were keeping everything on. So always back up your data, especially in university. You're gonna have lots of assignments and important coursework that you do not wanna lose. Whether you're backing it up by making copies to an external hard drive or using like iCloud or Google Drive, either way, just back up your data. Next up on this list, tablet. Now, I wouldn't say this is an actual essential, like you don't need a tablet, but I think for those of you considering it, I do think it is a worthy investment, right? Having a tablet makes it so you don't have to buy any extra notebooks or print out any worksheets, right? You can just do all the practice problems and stuff right on your tablet. And it's just a lot more convenient to take notes on a tablet, for me at least, and also just use it to look at my textbooks and stuff. I find having the iPad and the Apple Pencil was a worthy investment. And I actually have a keyboard on it as well, the Apple Magic Keyboard, and this makes it almost like a computer. Not quite at a computer level just yet, but it can do a lot of the same things a computer does. And then having the Apple Pencil makes it super easy to just take notes and do my assignments on this one device. So I actually don't have to carry around much paper or like notebooks or any of that. It's just all in this one little device. And the iPad itself, specifically my model, which is an 11-inch model, it's not much bigger than like a A4 sheet of paper. Actually, let me get an A4 sheet of paper right now. I don't even know if this is A4, but this is just a sheet of paper that you put in your printer, and it's actually a bit smaller than it, yeah. So it's a very comfortable size to use as a notepad, just because of how similar it is in size to this bad boy. An alternative route I've seen some people go to is getting a laptop that has a touch screen and a pen. And either the screen and the keyboard can detach like a Microsoft Surface, or you can like flip the screen 360 degrees and then you can use the laptop as a tablet. That I think is the kind of best of both worlds, because you get all of the full features of a laptop while also having the advantage of being able to take your notes on the computer, and then you don't have to carry around two separate devices. Because if you get an iPad, the iPad is great at being a tablet, but not so much for being a computer. So oftentimes I see lots of people using iPads as companion devices rather than like their main device, right? A companion device to maybe like a Windows laptop, or for or for me like a MacBook Air, right? So the iPad is more of a supplementary device. But if you get another type of tablet, specifically like a Surface Pro or something, then you might be able to use it as a full computer, because the Surface Pro has full computer software. It's running full Windows 11. Next up, kind of an absolute essential I'd say, is a power strip. This is more for people who are looking to live in a dorm. You're gonna have a lot of different devices you're gonna wanna plug in, right? Like phone, laptop, alarm clock, just to name a few essentials. In my dorm, I think it came with 4 outlets, 2 of which were behind my bed and were kind of hard to reach. And then I think they also did include like one of the thingies that you can plug into the outlets to give it like 6 outlets. But I like to keep my own power bar just to be safe, because I have a bunch of devices I need to plug in and I don't want to be like swapping around what I have plugged into the outlet, you know? And they're pretty cheap, they're like 10 bucks or so, and it makes it a lot easier to charge multiple devices at once, or just keep multiple things plugged in at once. Super nice and super convenient. Speaking of charging, long charging cables. They're really useful. Sometimes outlets are just not where you want them to be. Like if you're studying in a library, right, and the outlet is kind of all the way over there, then you don't want to be hugging the wall with your laptop plugged in. Having a long charging cable makes it a lot easier to move around with your device while it's charging. And like, let's say you use your phone as your alarm, right? And you need to keep it by your side, by your bed, right? But let's say there's no outlet near your bed, then having a long charging cable is going to be really useful for that. I have a friend right now living in the same house as me, and his bed is not really near any outlets, so he has to charge his phone using a long cable that spans almost as long as his bed, I'm pretty sure, or maybe even longer. So yeah, highly recommend getting one of the long charging cables. Another thing you're gonna want is a power bank. You're gonna be on campus for a while, so if your phone runs low on battery or something, then you're gonna want to keep that bad boy juiced up with a power bank. I carry just a simple MagSafe power bank in my backpack. It's nice and small, and I can snap it on my phone whenever my phone's running low on juice. This is especially useful for people who commute to university, because you're gonna need that phone when you're traveling and stuff. And also in general, it's nice to just be able to be on campus without having to worry about finding an outlet in case your phone dies. Finally, my last essential would be noise canceling headphones. I like using my AirPods Pro 2nd generation, but there are a bunch of other options as well, like the Skullcandy Method 360 ANC. Those have really good noise cancellation as well. Sony WH-720 Ns, I think that's what they're called. Those also have excellent sound quality. They're over-ear headphones. And Sony headphones in general, like their XM4s, XM5s, XM6s, are really solid headphones for just blocking out noise, which is especially important if you live with roommates. Like if you're studying for an exam, you're not gonna wanna be distracted by your roommates or like anyone around you. You're gonna wanna be able to just tune out the world and just lock in on what you're working on. And noise canceling headphones help me immensely in doing that. Next up, some things that are nice to have, but I don't think you need. First off, monitor. Do you need a monitor? No. But my laptop screen is 13 inches and I like having like a bunch of windows open at once, multitasking. So having a monitor helps me with that. And then also a keyboard and a mouse. It also just helps with like the ergonomics. I could also just put my laptop here, but it's nice to be able to use a keyboard and a mouse instead of my laptop's keyboard and trackpad. I also like to keep my MacBook on this laptop stand, right? It just helps with like the whole ergonomics of it all. I'm not looking as down as I would be without the stand. Also a Bluetooth speaker. Now, me personally, I don't have a Bluetooth speaker, but I know people who do, and if you're just hanging out and chilling with friends in like your dorm or something, it's great for just like the vibe. Just remember, if you're gonna get a Bluetooth speaker, be respectful of your surroundings, don't play music too loud, but it's nice to just have it sitting there playing some music while all y'all are yapping or like playing games or whatever. Speaking of playing games, I actually recommend the Nintendo Switch. In first year, I played Switch games with people and it was really fun. It was a really great way to bond with people or ruin friendships if we're talking about Mario Party. Should you go out and buy a Nintendo Switch right now just for university? Probably not, but if you already have a Nintendo Switch, I'd consider bringing it to university because it's a great way to bond and meet new people. It's a low pressure excuse to hang out with people because you're sitting in the same room together, and it kind of has the same effect as like playing a board game or something, which I also recommend bringing. I guess the point I'm trying to get at is bring some sort of entertainment or something you can do with other people that you can use to bond with other people and make new friends, as long as you don't let it become too much of a distraction. Another thing I recommend are these cheap little Amazon projectors. You can find these for like around 50-60 bucks. Are they as nice as the kind they use in classrooms? Nah. But they are really good for like watching a movie with your friends or playing Nintendo Switch with your friends. I got this guy for like $40 because I had a bit of a gift card discount. But even then, I think this retails for like around 60-70 bucks. I'll put the actual listing up here. But yeah, having a projector is nice if you want to have like something on like a big screen. Like maybe if you're watching F1 with your friends, or like playing Mario Party, or just like watching anything in general. Having a projector is a great way to do that without having to use a full-on TV. And it's a lot cheaper than a full-on TV too. Now, a lot of the common rooms in my university do have TVs, but it's just nice to have your own little device that you can use whenever you want. And it doesn't take up much space either. It's just this tiny little box, unlike a TV, which will be like, well, TV sized. So yeah, if you want to like watch stuff or like play games with your friends, then consider bringing a projector right there. Again, fairly cheap, fairly small, fairly portable, and it's going to be a lot bigger of a screen than your laptop screen or your phone screen. Is it the highest quality? No, but it's definitely enough for like just watching stuff, you know? So yeah, projector, really cool. And then last thing that I think is kind of nice to have if you're moving into a dorm is a lamp or a light thing, right? Typically university dorms are gonna have like a desk lamp or something for like when you're studying late at night, but I also brought my own lamp that has like a little wireless charger and like an angleable like light thingy. It's not a word, angleable, and it also had like adjustable color temperatures as well. And I just kept that near my bed. So if it was like late at night and I wanted to like look at something on my iPad in bed or like read something and I didn't want to ruin my eyes in total darkness, then I would have the lamp turned on. And it was really useful. Now, some extra tech tips about connectivity. Now, smart home stuff like your Amazon Echo devices or like your Google Homes, they probably won't work on the school Wi-Fi. School Wi-Fi is typically more like kind of locked down than like regular home Wi-Fi, so your like smart home devices might not work. And even devices like my Nintendo Switch, I had to submit a special form to get it connected to the school Wi-Fi, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to connect to the internet. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's a different type of device than like your traditional tablets, phones, computers. Obviously, this is going to be different if you're just living at home or getting like student housing living off campus. But whether you're living at home or at a dorm or off campus at student housing, there's one thing that all of us university students get, which is discounts and free stuff. Yippee! So first off, Apple has a student discount, right? And at least here in Canada, they don't actually verify if you're a student or not. So technically, you could get away with this even if you're not a student, but it's meant for students, and basically it discounts the iPads and the MacBooks by like a couple $100s, which is pretty good, honestly. And then additionally, they'll also either give you a whole accessory for free or they'll discount an accessory. So for example, if I buy an iPad Air, that iPad Air is gonna be a lot cheaper than if I like bought it from like any other place, or if I just bought it as a non-student. And then also when I'm checking out, I get the option to choose between a bunch of accessories I get for free or discounted. For example, like the Apple Pencil Pro, I can choose to have that bundled with the iPad for free. For a MacBook, it's similar. You can choose like the Magic Keyboard or the Magic Mouse. But yeah, if you had your sights set on buying an Apple product like an iPad or a MacBook, Apple is running that student discount, I think till like the end of September. And it's a great way to get a bunch of tech for a bit cheaper and also some extra accessories if you're looking to get those. And as students, we can also get discounts on a bunch of software. For example, Spotify has a student discount. You just have to give them your email or something. They'll verify that you're a student, and then they'll give you a discounted price. And I think it's like a couple dollars every month off of the regular price, but still that adds up and you're still saving a bit of money. And it takes, I think, like 5 minutes to set up, so might as well do it, right? And then there's also Amazon Prime. So Amazon Prime gives students a free 6-month period, and then afterwards, I think it's like 50% off the regular price. I'm paying $5 Canadian per month compared to, I think it's $11 Canadian. So that's a pretty good deal. Not really useful if you don't really use any Amazon services, but I order stuff on Amazon a decent amount, and I also use Prime Video to watch. Great show, by the way. Highly recommend it. Let me know in the comments if you're watching it as well or if you're interested in it. So for me, the Amazon Prime subscription is worth it. And then lastly, free pro software. So depending on what kind of program you're taking, you might have some courses that require you to use and learn software that is traditionally paid, right? For example, at some point, I'm pretty sure I have to use Autodesk Inventor, which is a paid software for CAD computer-aided design, but I'm able to access that for free because I gave Autodesk my student email. They were able to verify that I was a student. I'm using this for learning purposes, and then I was able to install it on my computer, my PC, free of charge, just so I can like get a feel for the software, learn the software. So yeah, if you have some software that you're interested in learning how to use and you're a university student, then I recommend checking out whatever software that is. Chances are they're gonna either have a student version that's given to you for free, or it's at like a heavily discounted price. All right, that's pretty much it for this video. Again, a bunch of the stuff I mentioned is down below in the description and the comments if you wanna check them out on Amazon. And if you're thinking about getting a computer and you don't know if you should pick Mac or PC, I have just a video for you. I'll link it below as well, and also put it up here. And if you're debating on whether or not you should get a tablet/iPad for school, then I also have a video for that. Should be somewhere up here or up there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Congratulations on getting into university and good luck with your academic studies. Be awesome and stay techie. Bye. Invincible. Yo, AutoCAD for Mac? Wait, I'm gonna get this. Alright, that's pretty much it. Alright, that's pretty much it. Alright, that's pretty much it for this. Alright, that's pretty much it for. Alright, that's pretty much it for this video. Yo, we are so close to hitting 10K subscribers. It is literally August 23rd at 1:36. So fingers crossed, hopefully we'll reach that milestone. That'll actually be so awesome.